Fresh American tariff walls are going up against Thai goods, sending a jolt of uncertainty through the country's export sector and shaking broader business confidence. To break down exactly what these new trade measures mean for the country, Vice Minister for Commerce, Girida Phaupichit, says the government is actively mapping out a response. And here is an excerpt of our talk with her.
Actually, the tariffs that the U.S. is imposing on many of its trading partners started since Trump won. But when President Trump resumed his presidency in his second term, if you remember, in April last year, the U.S. government announced that they will increase the tariffs on all their trading partners. And at that time, actually, Thailand's tariff rate that was announced by the U.S. was 36%. After 2 days of announcing 36%, President Trump announced that he will reduce the tariff rate for all countries, including Thailand, and Thailand's tariff rate that the U.S. will charge will be 19%. So from 36, it came down to 19, but under the condition that we will have to agree to an agreement that the U.S. would like us to sign. And that agreement is called the Agreements on Reciprocal Tariff, or ART. So if we are able to agree on the ART, then our tariff rates will remain at 19%. If not, it will go back to 36%. So from April onwards, we were discussing with the U.S. on this, how much we can respond to the request that the U.S. has given us in the ART. And we have also made other proposals, like we would like to invest more in the U.S. by our Thai private sector, or the Thai private sector would like to import more goods like airplanes or LNG, natural gas from the U.S., including soybean and corn as well. As time goes by, we were still discussing, but in February of this year, the Supreme Court had ruled that the law that President Trump had used to increase tariffs on all trading partners was illegal. So that could not be imposed on countries anymore. So from 19%, President Trump found another law that could charge all countries, trading partners of the U.S. 10%. So the U.S. charged every country 10% from February onwards. But this law, the 10% law, only allows 150 days of implementation. After that, the president has to go back to the Congress to ask for an extension. So during those 150 days, President Trump found another law that he would like to use that will be more permanent. So that law is called Section 301. What Section 301 does is that it will accuse trading partners of some wrongdoing, and then it will punish the trading partners if it's found guilty by raising tariff rates on those countries. So for Thailand, at the moment, under Section 301, the U.S. has charged us 2 cases. The first one is a case that says that we do not have a law that prevents imports of goods that are produced with forced labor. 38 countries, including Thailand, under this case, is charged 38 countries, including Thailand, is charged 12.5% tariff rate because we don't have a law that prevents the imports of goods that are produced by forced labor. While the other remaining countries, the other 22 countries, receive 10%. So even if they have the law, they are still charged 10% because the U.S. says they are not able to implement it effectively. So in those 22 countries, there are countries that have the law, and there are countries that do not have the law but have already signed the ART, the Agreements on Reciprocal Trade, or ART, with the U.S. So that's the other group. So we're in the group where we don't have a law and we haven't concluded the ART or the ART yet. Now let me talk a little bit about the ART. The ART is, as I mentioned, a long list of requests from the U.S. on its trading partners and, of course, on Thailand as well. So for different countries, the request might be slightly different. So for Thailand, it was a very long list. It is a very long list. And we are trying to respond to what the U.S. would like us to do, right? Mainly to open markets, right? To reduce tariffs, to reduce non-tariff barriers, reduce our standards, so that we can, the U.S. products can be imported into Thailand easier. But it also includes, other requirements which has to do, with things like, if, we had to decide on something, we have to consult the U.S. first, which is something that we might have to think very carefully if we want to do that. This is all related to trade. So there are certain things that we can do, and we have all tried. All our ministries have gotten together and tried to respond positively to the request under the ART of the U.S. But there are just a few items that we probably could not respond to. So we are we have already proposed some other things to the U.S. For example, we will invest more in the U.S., as many of the Thai companies would like to invest more in the U.S. so they can produce there and sell in the U.S. market, and also do joint ventures to have technology transfer as well. So it's good for both sides. So we will have more of that by our private sector. At the same time, we have agreed since the end of last year that we will buy more products from the U.S. This is not new. It was whatever we have agreed before, such as airplanes, right, LNG, or soybeans and corn. So these are the things that Thailand do not produce, or do not produce enough. Right, so it doesn't affect the Thai producers, but it will bring supply from the U.S. maybe to compete with imports from other countries. So we will try to honor whatever we agreed in that statement, that we said that we will import more goods from the private sector as well. Also, we would have military cooperation that is very strong, by the way, and it has come a very long way for many years. We will continue that. We will continue that with the U.S. as well. We think that in the end we would hope that the tariff rate that the U.S. will charge us in total would be no more than what they had charged us last year, which is 19%. So now, coming to the next part, which is, as I mentioned to you, now they have announced 12.5% from Thailand. It's still below 19%. So we think that there is a chance that the tariff rate might rise. So we will continue talking to the U.S. because, as I mentioned to you earlier, that the U.S. has charged us with 2 cases, right? They have only announced the verdict for 1 case. The second case is what is called structural excess capacity, which has not announced the verdict yet. What the case says is that many countries, including Thailand, so this case is charged on 16 countries, including Thailand. This case says that these countries have government subsidies to the private sector, so they overinvest. So when they overinvest, right, when they actually produce, their capacity utilization is low. So they have a lot of excess capacity left. And that would enable them to produce more and export to the U.S., which would maybe lead to further deficits, right, by the U.S. to these countries. So the Thailand was also accused of this, saying that we subsidize, we have overinvestment, and our capacity utilization is very low, especially in 3 sectors that the U.S. is interested in. 1 is auto and auto parts, so automobile and automobile parts. 2 is rubber and rubber products, and 3 is machinery. Machinery covers everything from air conditioners to washing machines to semiconductors. So we actually had sent written documents to the USTR. We went there in person as well to discuss with them. We showed them the data, right, from our Team Thailand, which not only the Ministry of Commerce, of course, there was Customs Department, there was the BOI as well, the Board of Investment, to explain to USTR that, first of all, we do not, over-subsidize, right? Our government do not, subsidize the private sector to the extent that there's investment or over-capacity like some big countries do. We don't do that. And secondly, we showed them the data on capacity utilization of these 3 industries that they're interested in. It's actually not below 60% that the U.S. has informed us, it's actually 75 to 95%. So there is no, excess capacity because we're using capacity almost to the, almost 100%. So we gave them all the information. We explained to them. Of course, they do listen. And they said they'll get back to all the countries, the 16 countries that is charged with this case, right, on the tariff rate that they will charge. Because each case is independent from each other. So if in the first case, as I mentioned, we are charged 12.5, whatever we get in the second case will be add on to the first case. So, we're hoping that the combined tariff rate that we will get will not be above, what we used to be charged, which is 19%. So that's where we are at the moment in our in discussion with the U.S. on both the excess capacity case under Section 301 and also the ART. Because whatever tariff rate the U.S. will charge will also depend on whether we can agree with them on the ART or not. And as I mentioned, we will also offer other things in addition to the ART to the U.S. as well. So that's where we are at the moment, and we are, pretty confident that, we will be able to discuss with the U.S. given our very long and good relationship in the past on many fronts, not only on trade. And also remember when, you talk about tariff rates and whether Thai companies will be competitive, right? We will have to compare ourselves to other countries as well, to our competitors, right? It's not only us. So if our main competitors in the U.S. market are charged a tariff rate that's higher than us, then we'll probably be still competitive. And at the moment, if I may give you, some information, our main competitor in the U.S. market of our top 30 Thai exports to the U.S. is China and Vietnam. It's China and Vietnam. So if the tariff rates that the U.S. will charge China and Vietnam are higher than, for Thailand, I think we'll still be able to compete with, in the U.S. market with these main competitors. And I believe that the China's and Vietnam tariff rates probably will be, higher than Thailand. So China's already quite higher because they have faced many cases in the Section 301 since Trump won. Vietnam at the moment is being charged 3 cases, while Thailand is being charged 2 cases. So, with that in mind, I think we will still be able to compete. And I just like to add as well that, when Section 301 is announced, they will also come up with an exemption list of products that are exempted, from the tariff rates. So, for example, in the first case that we're charged 12.5%, there were actually over 2,000 products that were exempted from the 12.5% tariff rate. And these over 2,000 products account for more than half of Thai exports to the U.S. So we still, we can still compete. We can still compete. Of course, those that, are not exempted, which is around 1/3 of products under, this case, we have already sent a request to the U.S. to ask for exemption for some of the key products. So when the second case, verdict is out, there will also be an exemption list because, as I mentioned, different cases are independent of each other. There will also be an exemption list of that case, and we will also, again, do the same thing. We will request for exemption of the key products that will be charged under the second case of excess capacity. So that's where we are right now.